Lonzo Ball signs with the Chicago Bulls at 5 o'clock, essentially 5:01, like seconds 01, and he's a Chicago Bull. It's a sign and trade sent to Chicago. So Charlie, I know you're feeling pretty negative. We're going to start it with you. What did you think about the Lonzo Ball sign and trade, what they got in exchange, the money, all of that?
To put it bluntly, I don't think anything makes sense right now. There only one person could allow for Lonzo Ball to be a Bull, and that's, well, I should say one contingent, and that's David Griffin, Trajan Langdon in the front office of the New Orleans Pelicans. Those are the only people that allowed Lonzo Ball to become a Chicago Bull. They had matching rights on his restricted free agency. They had all control. They either showed their cards too early, saying there's no way we're going to match. We're going to let him walk. They showed their cards too early in their pursuit of Lowry, which clearly was way too loud and well documented publicly, especially when you compare to the Jonas Valanciunas trade that was made that kind of popped up out of nowhere, or pretty much any of their transactions. Generally, they've been pretty good about being quiet, but the Lowry deal was, or the Lowry interest was exceedingly well documented by a lot of reputable people. And in doing so, I feel like they really showed their cards and kind of screwed themselves to begin with, put themselves behind the 8 ball, got minimal return. A lot of people are out there saying that, just wait, there's more coming. There's going to be more stuff folded into XYZ, whether you're folding it into the Memphis trade or folding it into Lonzo RFA or this, that, and the other. And maybe that's happening. But they ultimately got rid of an asset, a very good player in Lonzo Ball, and got minimal return for him. So they're not going to be able to flip those individual players, Satoransky or Temple or the second round pick that they got, for anything remotely close to Lonzo Ball's value. So as far as I'm considering, like, that's just a total failure when you have all the power, when everything is in your hands to maneuver and handle this situation. They just bungled it. They bungled the Lonzo Ball top to bottom, in my opinion. Whether you wanted to keep him or lose him, they just did a bad job.
A very good player might be hyperbole, in my opinion. Charles, I'm
very sought after player. Yeah, very sought after.
Okay, Charles, why don't you go ahead? What did you think of the Lonzo Ball trade? What they got in exchange, the contract that they offered him, all that?
So I think, in a nutshell, and this might catch a lot of slack, just looking at the contracts from 4 years, 4 years, 85 for Lonzo, and 4 years, 47 for Graham. I feel much safer paying Graham 4 years, 47. Now that's just in a vacuum, because that doesn't go into the cost that it took to get that contract, a first round pick. You gave up on paper the better player, and you lost the pick. You gave the better player, and you got Satoransky and Temple, who are solid players. But to me, if that is a loss, because ideally you would want Chicago sending a first to Charlotte, and then you're getting Graham back and they're getting Lonzo. That's to me is how it should have went down. But the fact that I think Griffin's getting squeezed, and we see that happening because everybody knows the Pelicans need to win right now. Teams know that. Teams know that we're desperate. But overall, I'm less upset than Charlie is, because I know the asset wise it's terrible. You're giving up an asset, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think right now, if you're looking at on paper, the players we got back, we got a backup guard, 2 solid backup guards. Graham is a tactical downgrade than Lonzo on paper, but I think for what the Pelicans need him to do, he does fit. So if you're asking me and I'm looking at the roster, I think we're better today at this point in the year than we were before. So I'm not as upset as Charlie, but I think anybody would say that this free agency has been a disappointment to start off, especially when you consider what was on the table for Lonzo at the deadline.
In essence, they're giving up 2 assets because they gave up their 2022 first-round pick, and they can't trade their 2023 first-round pick because you can't trade 2 years in a row. You have to have a pick.
Ted Stepien rule.
Yeah. Lynn, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you, sir. Newest addition to the crew of all the roundtables we've put together. What do you think about the Lonzo trade? Anything to add? Anything you disagree or agree with Charlie and Charles?
See, okay, so I'm kind of in the middle. I lean more towards Charles than Charlie, but I'll say this: I'm okay with what they got, but I'm not okay with looking at what San Antonio got for an unrestricted free agent of DeMar DeRozan when you compare it to what we got back with Satoransky and Temple. And it's like Charles said, that the first round pick should have come from them. So that's why I'm like, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Ball's a restricted free agent. He didn't want to be here. So I'm at least happy that even if they would have matched it, I don't want to have someone who doesn't want to be here. So I'm okay with seeing how Graham has been showing that he's happy that he got here, excited. So I'm okay with that, but I'm in between the two gentlemen when it comes to like how this trade situation and free agency began.
I lean more towards Charles. The contract is what made me happy. Like 4 years, $47 million, as opposed to 4 years, $85 million is incredibly drastic. And Lonzo, like the big media outlets and the guys in the NBA say he's going to be good for somebody. And I agree, but the way it can go for New Orleans, which it hasn't gone as of right now, way it could go for New Orleans in terms of adding somebody via trade, adding somebody via free agency, well, maybe in the future now, I think is a better alternative than banking on Lonzo to be a star, because the inconsistency this last year, I mean, he'd go 8 for 11, score 30-some points, and then follow it up with 2 for 12 and 4 turnovers and just be a very average point guard. Like he just didn't do enough for me to sign him to 4 years, $85 million.